The wait until the release of Tears of the Kingdom felt like it took forever, even when the release date was finally revealed. One way it felt like it took forever was the frustration surrounding the trailers. The first few trailers were very cryptic, then we get a gameplay demonstration showing off at least a few of the things you can do, and a final pre-launch trailer that shows off some more, including some story speculations, that easily made it feel like, at least to me, that this wasn't DLC to Breath of the Wild. This was an actual sequel. I have, however, tried to forget the dozen or so times I watched that final trailer so I could go into this game fresh. For any one moment while playing the game I'll likely see something and go, oh, I remember that now, it wasn't the trailer. Plus, not long after that trailer there have been impressions of the game from others with early access, talking possibly about the gameplay and stuff. I really did well to avoid these, just with the idea of you are only limited by your imagination when it comes to what the gameplay is like. And of course, the game got leaked. Thankfully, I was able to avoid what the pirates have been saying or showing. Oh, and add to that the most recent live events or gameplay demonstrations or something. So, certainly this first impressions will be something else. I have played the game for 6 hours as I felt it would give me a sense of, say, being able to do the opening area equivalent of the Great Plateau from Breath of the Wild, while also exploring the world outside and get some idea of where the game would go afterwards. But is it worth going much further than that? Am I caught up in so much excitement and hype that I cannot possibly fault the early footsteps taken in this vast world? Or will I be able to be reasonable and see if this game was developed with passion and effort? Let's find out. One thing I could start talking about based on how the game opened is how I felt playing it. From the opening moments, I could feel my whole body shaking with anticipation, and I noticed that calmed down as I had to really figure out what to do, which we'll get to shortly. The presentation is easily similar to Breath of the Wild. However, I noticed the music, while still minimalistic, was far more interesting, from the dark, distorted, ominous tones at the beginning to the changed up battle music. The art style is much the same, which I don't really have any issues with, and the game ran fairly smoothly with little to no frame drops below the usual 30, complete with great colours and lighting. Some of the pixelations and texture problems, especially the grass, do show up from before, but they're easy to ignore, especially if you've played the previous game, except I did find the daytime section a bit glary and found it somewhat refreshing when it was nighttime. The opening hours in terms of progression and story are similar and different in equal measure. I won't say where I've explored yet, but I can say that the tutorial area is fairly similar to the Great Plateau. You do learn the key abilities, use them to progress, and make sure not to die at the same time. However, from the very beginning, the pacing and progression are different to Breath of the Wild. In the previous game, it only took a little more than a couple minutes to see Link wake up, and then the world was at your fingertips. In this game, however, the gameplay takes a little time to start. You do control Link, but the game may be focusing on the storytelling more than the first game did. This means that it takes a little more time for you to learn the key abilities. However, using the key abilities in the tutorial area is better implemented and situational than in the first game. To get one ability one after another, you have to use your current abilities in very creative ways. This, combined with a more circular exploration of the area, save for a few simple distractions, makes for a more deliberate pace. The abilities also lead to some great combat and puzzle solving. Fusing two things together not only helps with combat and durability, but is used in other ways I'd rather not spoil. Ultra Hand is used very well to get from one area to another, however it can be fairly finicky to get used to in terms of positioning and rotating objects. The puzzles seem very inventive this time, where the solution is there and it's quite an eye-opener to figure it out. There were a couple puzzles which did make me say, Viddy, you know you had that ability and could have solved that, right? But that's not a problem. One problem I had, however, with how the gameplay was explained was that there are a few technical items that do help with the Ultra Hand and to an extent fusing in certain ways, but they suddenly felt a little overwhelming. Understanding this gameplay mechanic is important, especially for exploring a different climate for an extended time without Link dying, but it could have been paced or explained better. Of course, with the gameplay being so different, much of it will be familiar. You have to solve puzzles, you have to figure out where Link can and cannot go. Physics are still important. You have to fight tough enemies. You've had at least one or two enemies that are almost the exact same as in the previous game, have or are joined by an interesting surprise in terms of how they fight Link. But it's also about the little details. If you come across a weapon, shield and so on and don't have room for it, you can automatically drop one from your inventory at the press of a button. The puzzles feel more inventive, and the story, from what little I've seen of it, seems darker. Once I got close to the 6-hour mark, I found it hard to stop playing and see what more of the quests, puzzle, combat and world lay open to me. I'm at a point of the game where I'm a few hours or so past the tutorial area and can go almost anywhere. I've got so much to explore. There are changes to the world, heck, even an interesting area or secret is called a discovery in the game. So there appears to be plenty to discover, both familiar and different. What about you? Have you got, let alone played, Tears of the Kingdom? How far are you in it? And what do you think of the game? Let me know down in the comments while spoiling as little as you can of the gameplay and especially story. Before the outro, I want to thank everyone who joined in the Zelda charity marathon streams last weekend. Whether you chatted or donated or both, it was a great time. Tiring, but great. It was a great cause, and it was a great prelude to this latest chapter in the Legend of Zelda. 455. I can't believe it. Have a good day or night or whatever it is, and see you next weekend for the Creative Process episode 3. I'll do my best to complete it while playing this big new game. Don't worry.